button done up.
I'm very relaxed, as you can tell. I've been stretching. Hey man, welcome on the show. For everyone else, it's Matty Hoare from Veteran Surf Australia. How you doing, bro?
Good, mate. Good. Thanks for having me. Stoked to be part of the podcast.
Mate, it was. I'm glad we got a hold of you because it's something that I think everyone wants to know and get behind. And surfing's a fucking cool thing. Everyone wants to be a surfer, especially with the new Point Break movie coming out and that.
Is there another one coming out?
Yeah, what did they do? When was the new one come out? Last year?
I haven't actually seen it because I heard it was pretty average. But last year, the year before.
Yeah, it's been a couple. Are you talking about the one? There was an Aussie dude in it, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah,
believe it or not, 2000. It was 2015.
Yeah,
was it really?
Time whistles past.
They'll make another one.
They'll make another one.
They probably will.
The original one was my favorite fucking movie. Point Break, the original one. Johnny Utah.
Yes, it was good. I only saw it a couple of years back, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't watch many movies growing up, so that was everyone was like, man, you have to see that one. So loved it, yep. Couldn't bring myself to watch the second one, though.
So, mate, I'm not going to watch the second one. I can't do it, so
No.
it'll break my heart. What's it? There's other movies. What was another one that I watched the other day that was, I think I might have watched Terminator 1 or something, one of my other childhood idols, and I was like, fuck, shouldn't have done that. That movie's ruined. I remember things differently.
Yeah.
But
Point Break 1, the original one, that's timeless, mate. Because there's no CGI. There's no, well, I mean, the waves at the end.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the original from 500 years ago, he dies in the end. Disappears.
Sitting in a flat lake and then this monster wave comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a good show, but a bit of surfing, a bit of bank robbery. It's kind of a veteran's dream.
Hand in hand, hey?
you're not doing much bank robbing?
Not these days, mate.
No, they keep it pretty.
Yeah.
So what did you do after? Because you got back from Afghan. We were just talking before. You know, a mutual friend of ours. But you come back from Afghan, stayed in for a little bit after that, and then got out, or?
Yeah. Well, we got back in June 2012, and I discharged in Feb 2013. And I went to uni. So basically, I joined the army in 2008. 2 years later, I was in heavy weapons and just carried a machine gun most of my time. And as we all do, your back pain and all that sort of stuff that goes with it, especially, going overseas, got to carry everything with you, every patrol.
Yeah, dude. So this is a great fucking point, man, because if you think about, if you go to the airport and you have a bag that's over 20 kilos, it is a two-man lift. They have to put a heavy sticker on it, right?
Yeah.
A fucking Mag 58 weighs 13 kilos. 200 rounds weighs, I want to get fucking slayed in the comments after this. What's 200 rounds of 7.62? Like 5 kilos? More?
Who are you asking, mate? Because no one fucking knows.
You know what?
Weren't you a fatty sergeant?
Yeah, I was a fatty sergeant. I'm supposed to know this shit.
Isn't it?
Like, that was a two-man lift to fucking... Did you guys have 50 cals in fatties before you left? Heavy weapons?
No, we didn't.
Everything was a two-man lift. You're like, fucking... And now you...
Yeah, I think... So the other gunner, one of the other ones, he ended up with a back injury pretty early on in our trip. And then our sergeant was like, oh, well, let's weigh you guys clean skin and then with your kit on to see what's going on. I think it ended up being just shy of 60 kgs with, like, webbing, weapon, ammo, and then, then we had to carry spare barrels and, your night vision stuff as well. So doing a couple of kilometre patrols each day or every couple of days with that weight on, it's no surprise that you come back with a few injuries. And I kind of found you go see a physio and they're like, oh, yeah, another back injury during the Pilates class. And I was like, that's pretty fucked. So that's when I decided I'm going to go to uni and learn how to do rehab stuff and try and help some of the boys. And ended up going from there into a sports science degree. So my discharge day was the first day of my uni degree. And then kind of deviated a few times for work and all that sort of stuff, but ended up graduating with an exercise physiology degree in March last year.
So you fucking said it, but like there was no pause afterwards to sort of fall off the rails. You were like, I'm doing this, bang, bang.
Yeah.
With a goal.
And I 100% think that's the reason that, you know, I can't say 100%, but a lot of the time, as we all know, that you leave the military, there's your sense of identity and all that gone, and sometimes you kind of lose your path or you don't have something to chase or a passion. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And that's kept me focused for what it took me, because I took 2 years off to go work with Dave over on Manus Island. So bar that 2 years, 5-year degree, 4.5-year degree, and then straight into work from there. So most of my clients at the moment are DVA guys, which is good.
So did you work with Birdie, Paul Warren, any of those boys on Manus? One of them looks like a pirate. He's only got one leg.
No, I don't believe I did. Names don't ring a bell, but there was about 400 or 500 of us spread out amongst the different teams. So you only really got to know one or two other teams. So yeah, those names don't ring a bell.
Fuck, righto. No, so getting out as doing sports physiology and using that for. So do you get them into surfing to help them out? Is that part of the magic?
I would love to, but mostly the EP stuff or the exercise physiology is based on just getting them exercising, gym. I encourage some of my clients who, aren't surfers to get out and do other things like golf. But the surf thing was a whole nother story that just Kieran and I, the guy who co-founded ABS with me, we used to surf on Manus Island. There was some amazing surf breaks, like 20 minutes from the camp. So we'd finish a night shift, get one of the locals to pick us up, go for a surf. And we're like, because that job could be, you're doing 12-hour shifts 3 weeks straight with a day off. And we were our team did 2 weeks of night shift. So you kind of wrecked by the end of it. And we were just like, man, this kind of keeps us level and kind of refocuses you and gives you a bit of a reboot. So we thought, well, why not use this to help some veterans that are struggling? And that's kind of where ABS was born.
What are they doing? Sorry to jump in. What are they doing on Manus now? Is that all shut down or are they still rolling?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Manus is all closed. So when I left before it all kind of wrapped up, but I think they transitioned or tried to transition a lot of the refugees into the camp where they can go out and integrate with society and try and get jobs over in Papua New Guinea, but a lot of them didn't want to do that. And I think some of them may have ended up in Nauru, because I think Nauru's still going. Manus isn't really going anymore.
Hey, you should turn it into a spot for surf camps.
Oh no, I actually think one of the the other social workers worked for Transfield, and the recreation officer, one of them was a surfer, and I think he tried to open his own surf camp up over there. But I think you've got to be a fair bit of money exchange hands to do anything in PNG. Yeah.
I think Nauru was where all the boys worked, not Manus Island.
Yeah, same company. Wilson's ran both. But yeah, Nauru's a whole other level.
And I claim I've got a 9-foot Mal, 9.3 actually, I think. And I only know that because I read it on the sticker from the receipt when I bought the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I like to tell everybody I'm a super cool surfer. I'm fucking not. And I learned some lingo. But I can understand the reason why people get into surfing and I don't know, for me, I was definitely going into waves well out of my depth, and so the only thing I could really focus on is not drowning and fucking paddling to try and get out in the break. But
yeah, that makes sense, and it takes your focus away from whatever else was going on, though. Yeah.
So what's the draw card for you? What was the thing that got you passionate about surfing and then using it to help sort of vets and that? I
first learnt, like my dad's, saying earlier, like we grew up in Penrith, so nowhere near the beach, but every second Sunday kind of in summer, Dad would take us out to Palm Beach in Sydney and he would surf, and that was kind of like, I want to do what Dad's doing. And then he taught me to surf, and he's still got the board that I caught my first ever wave on. It's the board he still rides. And it's like this super thick thing that I can sit on now at, 100 plus kgs, and it doesn't even go underwater. It's like a fucking log that just sits there. And he pushed me on this wave, and I kind of, because it was so big and I was only, 4 or 5, you kind of just stand up and the thing just goes to the beach and then you jump off on the sand. And I was like, that was cool. And I kind of did it. And it was always that kind of surf as a cool kind of persona as I was growing up. And then, that was kind of it until joined the army. I used to go every couple of weekends and surf as a teenager and, when I got my license. But I don't know, I think that when I really fell in love with it was when I moved up to, or when I got posted up to Brizzy. We did our IETs up at Brisbane, and one of the guys, Cambo, in my platoon through Kapuka and into IETs was a real good surfer. Grew up in Shoalhaven in southern coast of New South Wales, and he was like, man, if we knock off, before 3, if we get an early knock off, just jump in the car and shoot down to Main Beach, go for a surf. And every Friday we'd jump in a van or in a wagon, shoot down to either Byron or Surfers and sleep in the back of the wagon and get drunk, surf. And that was kind of a way to just get away from what's happening back on base. And I think that's where that was what we looked forward to. And, you're outfield and stuff. So let's get home, pack up the wagon with the boards, get a case of beer and go for a surf. And that's, and that's kind of sick. Where that spark grew. And then, it hasn't, now I live on the coast, Gold Coast, and still my go-to for having a shit time, just head out. And as you said, because there's so much going on, you got other surfers, waves, there's so much to think about. It kind of just, you've got to focus on what's happening and when's the next wave coming and when we're going to sit, when we're going to paddle. You don't really have a lot of time to focus on other shit that's going on. So that's a draw card, I think. And then the feeling you get when you stand up on a wave and, get a nice turn in and all that kind of stuff.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I was about to say, you haven't found one yet, Max. Just talk about paddling for the next hour, mate.
I can talk about it. Because, mate, I think I figured it out. I figured out the problem in my one, I can't surf. 2 is I think I sat on the wave too long with a 9 foot and too straight, and I never turned in. Do you know what I mean? So you just go
nose dive.
Ass over tit, mate. And I'm like, yep, every fucking time, mate. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, you got to turn and go with the wave. I'm like,
Are you getting to your feet or no?
Yeah.
So you're not nose diving as you paddle, you can at least get to your feet? Yeah, no.
You got up a couple of times at, was it Pottsville?
Yeah, we went to Pottsville
good
for
spot.
a
bit. Yeah, good spot.
Just got to dodge all the sharks.
Yeah, there's a resident tiger shark down there.
I swear I saw sharks underneath us a few times.
Well, Dave,
and that's subconsciously what stopped me from surfing. I grew up at the beach in Newcastle.
Yeah, right.
I surfed a little bit when I was younger, and I was never that good, but a bit. And then kind of came back from the army when moved to Townsville. There's no surf. Came back at the time. What's this, like 10 years ago nearly now? When like every second dude who surfed was getting eaten by a shark. And I was like, nah, I don't mind danger. Don't mind like life-threatening stuff in some areas, but eaten by sharks is not the way I'm going out. I just fucking hated going out when there was sharks around. We went to Pottsville, and we're like, oh, yeah, it's all like 1, maybe 1.5, 2 foot waves on a big day. So it was cool to fucking play around with. And then there was just shadows floating around in the water underneath us. I was like, nah, fuck this.
Yeah, it does have that feeling down there, doesn't it? I got a mate, one of my good mates. He was Air Force, and I met him on Manus Island. And he was one of the ones that used to surf with us, and his dad lives down at Pottsville, just south of kind of Hastings Point, in that kind of stretch of road between Hastings and Potty. And we were going and jumping off Hastings Point for a surf one day, and it was overcast, and they both turned to me and said, oh, just keep an eye out for, I forget what they named it. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, oh, is it See the bommy out the back there? There's a tiger shark that hangs around there. He's known to, like, he hasn't really attacked anyone, but I'm like, fuck, you're going to tell me that now, mate? But overcast, water's dark and gloomy, and then now that kind of area's got that association with it now. It's like,
yeah, man. Like anywhere from like the Gold Coast down to Ballina. Ballina's fucked.
Yeah,
they used to be a surfing tourist location, and all the businesses going under because no one wants to go there.
Yeah, I don't blame. I don't want to go there either.
Nah,
as much as I love surfing, I still love my limbs as well. You know what I mean? Like,
do shark shields
do you ever go out? Hey,
the fucking shark shields, do they work?
Who knows?
Never heard of it. What's a shark shield?
It's like it sends an electric current through the water, I'm pretty sure, and hits their sensors, and because they got the sensors through their noses. But I've seen videos that makes it look like it works, but
yeah.
I've seen hundreds. Like they invented a pattern for the bottom of your board that apparently, and a pattern for your wetty, and then I'm like, all right, next summer we're going to see every board and every wetsuit with this pattern on it, and then no one did. So it's either board manufacturers don't give a fuck about people getting eaten, or because they don't actually work.
Shark gets bitten, you need a new shark bites your board. You need a new board.
Yeah, correct. It's the light bulb that never runs out. They're like, no, we don't want that.
To be that guy with like the zebra pattern on the bottom of his board. That's like, oh, look at this kooky, scared of sharks.
And that's the other one. Right?
Everyone's scared of sharks.
I went to get a new wetsuit the other day, and I wanted to get one that I could, like, I didn't know whether, because I'm in the process now of like having all the gear and no idea, so I'm buying stuff to try and excite me to go and do new things. And I'm like, I've got to get a wetty for spearfishing and a different one for surfing, because apparently you need to spend money to get two completely different things. And they're like, I'm like, why isn't everyone just wearing spearfishing wetties? Because the idea is they're camouflage patterns so you don't get eaten by sharks when you're in the water. And they're like, nah, you need a black one to look like a seal when you surf. I'm like, what? Someone give me some facts.
Yeah, mate, that's a good point. And I was going to bring that up. They did that test where it was like the zebra pattern and then the blue kind of camouflage one, and with sharks. And yeah, apparently they both worked, and it would make sense that everyone just wears one of those, right? The
point of camouflage is so no one can see us. So you've got a camouflage board and a camouflage wetty.
The other one is you draw the eyes on the bottom of, like, the shark picture on the bottom of your board. Or you can just be Mick Fanning and punch it.
Get a massive ball with it.
Yeah, just throw it down and scare it away, and be known as that guy.
Well, you can just never surf again like me.
Yeah, that's
the safest bet.
I was at the cafe today near my gym, and talking to one of the girls there, and she's like, "Oh, well, I was going to go for a surf, but there's been like 2 to 3 sightings of sharks at Tugun between kind of Currumbin and Tugun the last couple of days." I'm like, there you go. I'm staying out of the water for a little bit. Just but I don't know if that's kind of. She was saying that because apparently the water's getting a bit colder now, it's bringing the sharks closer in, and others are saying it's overfishing, and I don't know if it's also just like that guy that got taken the other week. If it's just people are a bit more aware of it now, because it was kind of like, oh, we're safe on the Goldie, Greenmount, Snapper, it's packed. You're not going to rarely see a shark there, and now it's like, well, I think there was one and it had a bite, and
you up the amount of patrols, you're going to see more sharks.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and now that they've got the apps where it's you can log on and say, yep, shark sighting.
Me and Dave saw like a 2.5 meter shark on Stratty the other day, and it wouldn't have been 15 meters off the shore.
Yeah, it was Stratty's
big.
That's the last place I saw a big. It's the only time I've surfed South Stratty, and it was a couple waves in, and it was just starting to clean up and get good. And it was Kieran, so the other AVS founder, and myself and Tommy, and I got a wave, fell off, looked back, and this thing was just cruising through, like a wave was coming up. It was just cruising through, and it was, it was fair size bigger than my board, and I rode a 6. It was a 6.6 at the time, so this thing was like at least probably, 3+ meters, and it was just thick and wide, and they saw it too, and we all just went, nah, we're done. Yeah, They're definitely out there.
Yeah, is it like? So on one end, like people tell all the different stories. Like we report on it more now. Or there's apps and stuff, so you hear about it more. And then there's some people say the population of humans is going up. I'm like, Well, I don't know if that's the actual factor. Like, if there's one dude in the water that's 500 and the shark's hungry, he's probably just going to eat the one dude as well, regardless. But there's got to be something going on with shark eating patterns or shark numbers. Or maybe, I mean, the other one that I can think of is like, because when we were kids, you just didn't hear about it. Like maybe once every 5 years or something, you heard about a shark attack. But there was no internet then too. So the only time shark attacks in Ballina weren't making the Newcastle news because no one gave a fuck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be that too. Like, you just hear about all of them now instead of just your local ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be a part of it. I try not to look into it too much because I don't want to lose myself, because obviously I want to surf and, you know, I could say, oh, yeah, I know they're in the water and it's their territory and, you know, if they take me, they take me. But, you know, no one wants to be taken.
Yeah, but we spray cockroaches that come into your house and you squish ants and you kill termites that ruin in your house. And they're like, no, it's their territory too. Like, yeah, cool. Fuck them. I'm the top of the food chain. We put man on the moon and you can fuck off when we go for a swim.
Good point.
No, I don't fucking, who knows. But so if we're going to go fear of sharks, because have you done much big wave surfing, like super crazy?
No, I haven't. And that's one thing that I don't like big waves. And it's not so much the wave size, but what gets me when the surf gets bigger is the undertow of the water and a lot of water moving around. I don't have the paddle fitness to keep up with it. So I'm like, if it gets too big and, you know, but a mate recently got a jet ski. So I said, mate, you got to learn to tow us and let's have a play around with it. So got to do some breath enhancement training to get that breath hold down pat. But something I wouldn't mind having a.
Where would you go?
I'm not talking, you know, world record big, but bigger surf would be nice. Yeah.
Where would you go in Australia for that? Bells Beach, man.
The big wave surfing in Australia is you've kind of got, there's one in Tassie called Shipsterns, which has that crazy step halfway down the wave. And then, you know, WA is the other spot where a lot of them go. Obviously, there's other spots around the coast, but I think it's southern coast, the WA and Tassie is, no 50-year storm at Bells. Bells can hold decent size, but I think Margaret River can hold better size than Bells, can't it?
Margs has, I think they call it the right.
Yeah, and then now they've got that new one that's breaking all the records in Portugal, which you're basically surfing in front of a cliff face and they're going 100-foot plus waves. It's just
was that the one where old mate broke the record the other day, where all the videos are coming from off the top of the cliff? That was fucking mental, mate. That is like the scene out of The Day After Tomorrow, where the whole world's all Deep Impact, one of those movies where New York's about to get flattened by a fucking wave, and you're like, that's ridiculous. And you see this dude break the world surfing record, and you're like, nah, that movie was pretty spot on.
2012. Cutting sick down the wave.
Mate, that was a skyscraper. I look at it and I'm like, yeah, no, that's like going flat stick down a Black Diamond run at the snow, except if you fall off, you're fucking dead. And it's a mountain. They're surfing down a mountain.
Yeah,
because what's the end state? Do you have to ride it out, or do you eventually you suck it? Like you're going for a swim, regardless.
I think that they have the skis, the water safety patrol, pretty close by. I think the idea with that wave, because it's kind of like just a big peak, so I think they kind of ride it and try and come off the shoulder and get picked up before the next one comes and cleans them up. But I think more often than not, they have to take a wave or two on the head. But there's the technology now that they've got the cylinders in the vests where it like puffs up. So even if you do lose consciousness, you're going to come to the top. But yeah, fuck that. That's way out of my league. I'll never be at that. Never, ever, ever be close to that level. And I don't want to be. There's
a video of a dude, his vest inflates and he gets washed up at that break you were talking about, and then he gets to the beach unconscious and they give him CPR and he was out like a week later. I was like, nope.
Yeah. No.
How long do you have to hold your breath? What is it? Minutes if you get sucked under?
I wouldn't have a clue with something like that. But I have done a breath enhancement training course with the guy Nam Baldwin, and he took Mick Fanning over to some island, and they did a test. So because he's done some training with Mick, and they're like, all right, we're going to go out in like 10-foot surf, and we're going to purposely take off late, get held under, and we're going to time how long the breath hold is. And they did it, and they had the photographer timing, and they come up after a few, and he's like, how long do you think your breath hold was? And they're like, 30 seconds. And he's like, the longest one was 8 seconds. And they're like, fuck, it felt like 30, you know. But I imagine those guys, it would be a lot longer. That size surf, and they got to dive down and try and hold on to something to not get washed, you know, because there'd be.
I feel like in 2020, that was an experiment they could have done with a dummy, not a real person. Like, who goes, let's see how long we can get wiped out on big waves and just get fucked up.
Yeah. I think and then after that, I think they went and did it. Can't remember the exact size, but they went bigger surf. And I think, again, like there wasn't a hold down longer than 20 seconds. But you've probably all had the one where you're like, you get held under and you come up and you're exhausted. Like that's got to at least have been a minute, and it was like fucking 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
Yeah, but half the time that's the fuck thing, because you can go in a pool and go down the bottom, hold on to something, get a big like suck of air, go down, hold. If you practice it, 2 to 3 minutes. But you're not, you don't get the pause for a second when you stack it on a wave to go, hey, take a big breath, dude, because you're going to be under for ages. 50% of the time you're under there and you're breathing out on the way down.
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck is happening?
You got nothing.
Or if you're me, I think I was drowning at one point. Like first time I tried going out, there was a cyclone off the coast, bro. There was a cyclone off the coast of
fuck off! You went out in a cyclone.
Cyclone off the coast of Potty
in a Mal. I'm not lying. Me and my fucking ex-missus went out, and they're like, no, in Sunny Coast, and they're all standing. All these guys were standing there with their boards, like real short boards, and they're like, "You guys not going out in that?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm a cowboy. Fucking retarded. The waves look that big from the shoreline. And we got out there. I'm like, I am in over my fucking head. And I was drowning on my surfboard, mate. Like the water that was lapping up, I was so exhausted. I reckon, just drowning like slowly. I'm like, we got to get the fuck back in because it's
like drowning in a soup bowl.
So, I mean, I went from, I think we caught a couple of waves. We went out to Alexander, is it Headland, like the point there?
Yeah.
Caught some real easy ones, and then I went Peak of Confidence all the way to the top, and then Valley of Despair, just drowning on my surfboard the next day. I was like, fuck, I've got to learn how to do this properly.
It takes a while, but that's brave. That's good. Going out there with a 9'3" Mal in the cyclone swell, that's...
retarded.
Ballsy, man. Yeah. That's ballsy and retarded. Yeah.
I had no idea, because people like, if someone was like, dude, you don't do that, like you'll kill yourself, you're an idiot. Had I known that now, I'd be like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah. That's what they would have done back when like Big Wednesday and that were filmed. That's what they did. Those big boards and big waves, but I think now it's like shorter boards in big waves as well. Yeah. Everything's getting shorter and better technology, but yeah, good attempt. Gonna be proud of that.
So you're doing the VSA stuff now, and Waves for Wellness. You partnering with Waves for Wellness as well?
The guys in Sydney are, with Joel Pilgrim and that down in Sydney. So we got a branch down in Sydney now, run by Dale, and they're partnering up to do, I think they're doing an 8-week learn to surf program for veterans and their families, which is awesome. There was a group up here called, they used to do a Fluoro Friday at Burleigh, but I don't think they're doing it anymore. We did chat with them and we're going to team up. But yeah, it just didn't go anywhere up here. But Waves of Wellness are mainly down that way. So it's awesome to see them pairing up with those guys.
Yeah, those boys are from Newey. I met Joel, I think about a year ago, and he said he was starting to plan some stuff with you boys. I think it was with Dale, but yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, he's done some amazing stuff. I spoke with Joel when the idea for AVS kind of got off the ground, Just by chance, I was out with my wife or my missus at the time and her friends, and the ABS idea come up, and one of the girls there was like, "Oh, I did uni," because Joel's I think he's an occupational therapist or something along those lines, and she said, "Oh, I went to uni with a guy who's doing that in Sydney for mental health, so you should contact him." And yeah, we had a chat, and said down the line we'd, probably collaborate on some stuff. But Dale down in Sydney, he's killing it for ABS down there. He's got a lot of contacts through the RSL and all that down at Bondi, I think, and yeah, doing really well. So yeah, pretty stoked that they're partnered up.
Yeah, go. I don't know if you've got the details on you, but we'll cut some stuff out of this podcast and use it as a promo to try and link people back to that. Because a couple of boys tagged us in that today. The Waves of Wellness putting a shout out, going, get in touch if you're interested. So what's the best way for people to get to learn more about that collab project?
I would say probably go to the Waves of Wellness website or their Facebook page, or the ABS Sydney Facebook page.
Yeah, cool.
That's probably where most of the information is going to be. But I think it's mainly been run by Waves of Wellness. So if you check out their social media pages, or just type in Waves of Wellness on, Google search, you'll find it there.
Yeah, nice.
Definitely. But we'll put a link up or something at the end. And
yeah, it looks good.
Yeah,
good. They're doing it in Bondi, so it'll be you'll be learning to surf in a bath full of Brazilians and tourists.
Might even make Bondi Rescue, hey?
My favourite side of bath.
Yeah, correct. If you're going to have a bath, you might as well fill it with Brazilians, mate.
Why not?
So is that chapters around because you're obviously the original one, the old OG is Brisbane, and then what, do you sort of open up chapters like a bikie club, or you just franchised, or?
Exactly like a bikie club. Now, look, we have had interest from like all over, but unfortunately, when it gets down to, because, it was all self-funded initially and had a bit of funding from the RSL, but they're real stringent with what you can use it for. A lot of people said, "Oh yeah, is there one in Newcastle or Tassie, Victoria, Sunny Coast?" And we're like, "Look, there's an opportunity for it, but we just can't be in all these places at once." So talked to a few people through the process, and then you just don't hear back from them. But the idea would be to have, little. So we're a board riders club initially, and that's just so that insurances are covered. We're affiliated with Surfing Queensland, so we've been invited to surf in like the Kira Challenge, which is like a team event run by Kira surf riders, and they're probably one of the most OG clubs in the country. They've been around forever, especially on the coast here. Point Lookout, the Stratty Assault, which is another good one that we've been invited to a few times. So that's kind of why we did that, because the surf community, they're pretty chilled and they're cool and they're real respectful of the veterans, and they always come up and they cheer us on. And if some categories like kids, most of us up here on the coast have real young kids, or kids don't really surf, so they'll lend us some of their junior surfers for the events and stuff. So, but yeah, ideally, if there's anyone listening outside of the Gold Coast or Bondi that wants to get involved and start a club, just hit either us up on Facebook, the Association of Veteran Surfers, or the Sydney chapter, and we can talk you through kind of what's needed. And there's definitely people out there that will get involved. It's just someone needs to step up and get it going, because we got up to 70 something members now, going strong, signing up new ones almost every event we have. So yeah, that's the plan.
And it's veteran surfing, as in you can just be a straight up dude. You're still in the. Can you still be current serving and join?
Yeah. Current.
So it's literally a board riders club. It's not like
Yeah.
You don't have to be a victim to be part of it.
Exactly right. 100%. We had one guy, like we participated in the Kira Classic, which is a longboard event the other week, and there was a guy who won the veteran category, he's like, oh, but I only did my basic training in a year or two or whatever, and then went reserves. I'm like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, you're part of the army or the Defence Force. Like, just come hang out. We're just there to surf, have bacon egg roll and chill out. It's not. You don't have to have a gold card, white card. You don't have to have even been overseas or whatever. Just for everyone and their families. Bring your kids along, bring your partner along. It gives the partners a chance to debrief with each other as well about what's going on with their partners' lives and how they deal with certain things that may come up, and it gives the kids a chance to hang out with other kids who are maybe going through other stuff with their dads or the mums or their parents or whatever. So that was the whole idea behind it.
Bro, I think that's something that we've lost. Like, we lost that in the regular army, man. Like, there used to be a real tight knit. Like, you think about the patch in Perth, Keegan, you could probably speak to that. But 1RR, the Wives Club, and it used to be like you used to do orphan Christmases, and the sergeant would, when his missus had put on Christmas for everybody. Like, there used to be a real family structure around everything, and now it's just become civvies in uniform. And I think having that fucking place where guys can just go and surf and chill the fuck out, come and feel part of it, because they can feel on the out. Hey, like, we're gonna get some. I was talking. We're gonna get a couple of wives on the podcast from some dudes who've done some serious trips overseas, just to get their perspective, because you don't know until you're on the out and you're like, I'm not part. It's a boys' club,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and a lot of the guys have gone through divorce and that sort of stuff recently. And my wife still chats with a couple of their partners, and can kind of empathise with stuff that they've gone through, and it would be awesome to have that community, because you've got the boys, right? You can talk about shit, or you can't, but you can go have a beer and hang out. And the wives and even the kids to some extent would, definitely, if you've, some of the guys that you're going to, or the partners you're going to get on that are left at home for months at a time when their partner's away serving, it would have an effect. I mean, it's got to. So it'd be nice for those partners and families to have somewhere to go where they can also feel a part of, a community, and debrief with each other and organise coffees and all that sort of stuff during the week, and even catch up when their partners are away. So yeah, that's ideally where we'd end up going with it. And I would love to see, like, we were going to do a state of origin, so Dale and his Sydney crew versus the Gold Coast crew, and have a surf comp kind of midway somewhere near Coffs Harbour. It would be nice to have a surf event, because there's an Army surf team, there's a Navy surf team, there's probably an Air Force surf team as well, and then there's the Defence surf team.
There's a sports fishing team as well. Motherfuckers, I was playing rugby, mate.
We tried to get a spearfishing team at 1RR, Max.
100%. What to do a spearfishing club or something?
Yeah, if there's an officer that's interested in what you're doing,
they got an ice
hockey
team now. There's how much sport in the army. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to have like a ex-serving versus current serving comp as well, and just get that ex-defence surf community going as well. So that's.
Do you know who the head of the Army surf team is? Like the big dog, the patron, or fucking.
No, I've been put in contact with a couple of people, but Miles Conquest, I think. Maybe that's not even his surname. That's probably just his Facebook name. But Miles, I don't know. But he's a really nice guy. I have spoken with him. He's interested to get some of that stuff happening as well. So maybe when all these restrictions are lifted and life goes back to semi-normal, we might be able to do some more things. But first one's definitely going to be the State of Origin versus the Sydney crew. So hopefully we can win that one.
Have they got many boys down in Sydney? They got.
I don't know their exact member numbers, but they're doing pretty well. Yeah, they got a few. And now I think with some surf school down in Gerringong just got a lot of money through a DVA grant.
Yeah, mate. I was going to bring that up. Are they working with you boys? Because that fucking pissed me off big time when I saw that. I'm like, there's these veteran surfing organisations that's been doing it as a grassroots fucking movement, doing all the hard yards, and then a fucking RSL full of old blokes put their hand up and go, "Hey, give us 300 grand and we'll teach people how to surf." Come on, son.
Yeah. So
anyway, that's
I posted about that. My disgust in that kind of look. I did put in for that grant, but I did it myself, and it was last minute. So I got to take that on the chin. My grant proposal was probably shit. All right, fair play.
Negative. Don't, mate. I put in for that, and we got a company to write a grant for us, and we still got told to fuck off because the old boys needed 300 grand to buy a couple of surfboards.
Oh, fucking hell!
Wasn't impressed.
You guys would know 42 for 42, Mully and those boys.
I don't know. I know the organisation. I've never met the dudes. No.
They put in for one. It was for memorial upkeep and building memorials, and they're trying to build. They've been given land near Suncorp Stadium to build a memorial for the Afghan guys, the guys that died in Afghan, and the dogs and stuff as well. They put in for a grant for that specific, and they got knocked back. And when they rang, apparently their grant wasn't even looked at.
Yeah, I mean, we're learning that the hard way too. You put in a grant and it could go in a pile of 100 of them, and unless you're the dude who knows the people reading through the grants, I mean, there's one guy reading through 100 of them, he probably does skim over it, and I get, there's politics and there's a bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, there's some projects out there like that. If you're gonna spend 300 grand of government money on a surfing organisation or a surfing project, give it to the veterans who have built this surfing thing themselves. I mean, I'm telling you shit you already know, mate. Probably just to make you angry.
I've kind of come to peace with it now. Because I think at the end of the day,
300 fucking thousand.
Hey, Waves of Wellness need far less than that to run learn to surf camps. And again, but here's the problem. We've heard it all before. I'm going to rant real quickly on it. Joel Pilgrim, mate, sold it. Like you meet him for 30 seconds, you know he's a genuine dude.
Yeah.
He will go and go, I'm going to build a program to teach 10 people to surf. I'm going to make it so cheap and cost effective that we can get it done. All these people can get max benefit out of it. And we don't need a shitload of money because he's not getting rich off it. Like he's doing whatever he's got to do to keep eating. Ideally, down the track, he starts to get more and more money. That'd be gold. But then you turn around and someone else looks at that and goes, hey, there's money to be made here. Government's signing checks for these grants. What do we know about teaching people to surf? Fuck all, but we know how to write grant applications, so let's do that.
Yeah.
It's fucking gross, mate.
Yeah.
It's gross, but it's never going to stop, so there's no point whinging about it. We've just got to find ways to beat them at their own game.
That 300 grand, let's put it in perspective. So our initial with our RSL gave us, money for a trailer and that, under 20 grand to get all the equipment. So we got 10 surfboards for beginners, trailer, barbecue, all of that. Surf lessons with the local surf school, $20 a person. We could have had 300 grand would have sustained us for probably like 10, 20 years. Probably. Like if we kept just the Gold Coast and you split it up between Gold Coast and Sydney, you're probably getting at least 5 or 6 years worth of surf lessons and probably some other cool like camping trips to get away and surf and stuff as well. Or you could go to the Surfing Australia HPC, which Soldier On have been doing a little bit and we've done some. And so that you stay there, the surf instructors are all like still grommets at heart. So they're just like grown men that just froth on surfing and really good vibe. And you learn how to skate and you go hit the half pipe onto like a blow up bag so you can practice aerials. And one of those you do that probably about 3 grand to get 10 guys through. And it's video instruction, proper surf coaching, video analysis, accommodation, food, the works, yoga, Pilates and all that involved in it. So, look, I believe, Dale's been in contact with the guys that got that grant because they weren't happy with what I'd said on social media. And they are, I believe each participant's going to get, maybe a board and a wetsuit out of it as well, which is good, At least they're going to get something. And hopefully they do reach out if they need to fill their spots, and because they've got to get 100 guys through as part of the grant. So, it would be nice to get involved in that with it, but still, I'm a little bit bitter about it. But yeah.
I think the key this is the key takeaway I got anyway. So the RSL down the coast got it last year for the surfing program. The year before, DY Veteran Centre got 300 odd grand for writing a mental health first aid program, and it was going to be written by a social worker who'd never been in contact with veterans before. And that's when I started getting real shitty at that grant, the Supporting Young Veterans grant.
Yeah,
I was looking into it. The year before, Rubicon got it, and that one I can vouch for. Rubicon, in my mind, is a fucking sick organisation. They do a lot with young veterans. Good to go. Mental health first aid program that they ended up rolling out in Wagga. I was that proof in the pudding that has been built. That program's been built by someone who knows fuck all about young veterans. Like, who in their right mind? You go to Kapuka, right? It's close to Wagga for basic training. So someone from the outside
you never
looking
see
in
the
goes,
place again for fucking.
Exactly. Who's going? Hey, I'm going to transition out of the army. Where do you want to live, mate? I'm thinking about going back and getting a house next to Kapuka. Fuck off. No one's moving back to Wagga, mate. No one.
No, never.
So that from the outside looking in, you're like, I've never spoken to a veteran, never been in contact with them, don't really know anything about them. I've got to build a program because I'm really good at writing grants. I got this grant. Where do you want to roll this out? Oh, Army Training Centre in Kapuka. No, that's not how it works. So I guess, the thing is the common point for both these last 2 years' grants is they were organisations that partner with an RSL, whether it be a club or a sub branch. They partner with an RSL in their application, and RSL's got some fucking lobbyists in Canberra.
Yeah.
So that's the takeaway we're going to pull together for next year. We're working with a few good RSLs in Sydney. There's some fucking shit ones, but there is still some good ones out there that want to do a lot of good stuff. So next time, I don't even know if they're going to run that Supporting Young Veterans grant again, but if they do, definitely do the same, man. Find an RSL that you know has got some good dudes in it, partner on the application, get them to go lobby for it, and then
that's the way.
Us young boys will end up doing all the legwork anyway. But
just got to get the name behind it to get the money.
Done,
Yeah, that's a good takeaway. I'll keep that in mind for next time. Hopefully they do run it again, because that money's got potential to do some really good stuff and change some lives.
Game, mate.
100%.
Mate, what we could have done with 300 grand a couple of years ago, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've got one RSL up there that's you've doing some stuff with that is actually getting behind you?
We were actually, so when we come up with the idea and we did a bit of a proposal and we sent it out to Legacy and State Branch, RSL Queensland. And RSL Queensland did back us initially, and there's still a little bit of funding there. Kieran and I kind of, we've stepped away a little bit from being, like, we were president and vice president of ABS and the board riders, and the idea was always for us to start it, and he's now doing an electrical apprenticeship and I'm running an exercise physiology business, so we weren't always going to be running it. So the idea was to get some veterans that maybe needed something to keep them occupied and let them run it. And somewhere along the way, I think RSL, because the initial thing was with Kieran and I, they kind of gone, well, you guys aren't running it anymore. We don't know who's who. And they've stepped back a little bit. But the new vice president has got back in contact with them and says that there's still going to be some funding trickling in. But it's nothing like the initial, what we were told we would be getting. But there was a lot of paperwork, not paperwork, but a lot of stuff that had to be done in the background for them to continue the funding, and we just didn't have it in us at the time to continue doing everything they needed us to do to.
It's a lot of fucking hoops to jump through, hey?
Yeah. And there was...
That's true.
Yeah.
But what you're saying about, like, handing over the reins to other people, We've had experience with that. Oh, see you, Keegan. We've had experience with that as well. Like the RSL is still, whether it's the clubs or the sub branches, it's still the old boys club.
Yeah.
If they get to know you and they get to trust you, and then you're like, hey, I've got this other dude doing some work for me, you can trust him too. You need to do like the old fashioned, like go to dinner, introduce them, vouch for them, give them a couple of goes where it's all of you together before. Otherwise, they just drop it and they're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But what So are you said you got backed by Queensland State, which is the sub branch, the RSL organisation. What about the clubs themselves? Do you get any money from the actual clubs?
No. None.
Yeah, see, that's another angle. Like New South Wales, I only found out recently. I thought Queensland was very different. New South Wales got the clubs that run the pokies, and it's a business. And then you got the sub branch, two completely separate organisations.
Yeah.
People are probably sick of hearing it. I ran about this all the time, but the RSL sub branches are the old, mostly run by Vietnam era vets.
Yeah.
Sitting on big pockets of money, but don't do a lot with it because it's all tied up in long term deposits, and they need some young blokes in there to revitalise it and tell them where they should be spending money. And surfing is fucking exactly on the eastern suburbs of Sydney. That is what they should be putting money into.
Yeah.
But there is, so in New South Wales, the clubs have got a grants program, which means they've got to give away 1.5% of their pokey money every year to community organisations. And they've stopped giving it to veterans because they don't want to give it to the sub-branches because the sub-branches have got big fat bank accounts and no one else knows that they're two separate organisations to go ask them for money.
Yeah, right.
And now we've got a couple, like Coogee Diggers is been a fucking amazing for us. And there's a few other RSLs, like Campsy's another good one around Sydney that it's the club. It's not the RSL itself. It's the club with the pokies and that have got the money. And mate, I can just see opportunity where you want to get state of origin. Like it's really going to be the Goldie versus Cronulla, or where the Sydney chapter is. You can't have one at every RSL because there's just too many RSLs. But if you slowly like put together one in like Coogee, Bondi area, you got one in Cronulla, one in Manly. Like there's some big RSLs out there that would back with a bit of cash. They're not going to throw heaps, but they'll throw enough to put on an event once every couple of months through summer. Yeah. And then you can put on like competition, bro. That'd be sick if you had 6 to 10 different chapters all coming together like once a year. Yeah. Sydney 1 year, Queensland the next.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking gold, mate. We'll have to have a chat offline because there's definitely some clubs down here on the coast that would love to get behind this. And then, I mean, this is an idea I'm talking about with New South Wales RSL because they're trying to put on, now that Invictus is kind of fading into the distance, they're trying to put on some sports events. And no shit, like there's some good ideas in there, but a lot of the sports that they were going after, I'm like, have you spoken to any young veterans? Because I don't reckon anyone wants to do that shit. Like, and if you go to them and go, hey, we want to put some surf teams together, can you back us? I reckon they'd be keen.
Badminton's good to go. Don't talk shit about it, okay?
What's that?
Badminton's good to go. Don't talk shit about it.
Like a squash tournament or a fucking...
There's so much talk in Sydney at the moment about Bondi RSL getting behind a volleyball team. I'm like, there's Brazilians playing volleyball out the front of Bondi RSL every fucking day. So that's all they've done. They've opened the blinds and gone, volleyball. Yeah, that's a sick idea. Let's do volleyball. Like, look another 5 meters into the water. How about surfing, mate?
That's a real good point. I'm learning all this stuff now too about the RSL clubs are separate to the sub branches and stuff because Burleigh sub branch up here is like their prime location. I think they're on like 5th or 6th Avenue at Burleigh. Mm. You walk across the road, you're on Burleigh Beach. You walk 500 metres down the road, you're at Burleigh Hill, where everyone, all the hipsters go for their Sunday arvo beers. But I think most of their members are in their 60s, 70s, kind of Vietnam era, and not they're struggling to get younger veterans in, and they've got this beautiful hall there that no one really utilises. But I don't know how much money they've got. But I was like, well, why? When I heard they're struggling, I'm like, well, why aren't they being backed by other clubs around? And it's like it's different. You got your pokies and the business side of the RSL, like Currumbin RSL. Great RSL club. Loads of money. Just throwing money at recreations and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean I don't know which one's which, but only less than 10% of the clubs in Queensland are run by the actual sub branch. So 90% of them it's a business running the club, selling beers and making pokey money.
Yeah.
And then the sub branch has just got a little office in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's hard. That's why the public doesn't know that, and everyone's just getting the shits with the RSL going. You've got the name, the clubs I'm talking about going. You've got the brand name, and you're doing fuck all for veterans.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, there's got to be veterans have got to stop saying, "Hey, you've got all this money, give it to us."
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. Like
100%.
the RSL is going to be fucking dead in 10 years if young dudes don't start becoming members.
Yeah.
And if you go to there's a lot of good dudes involved with the RSL, and there's also a lot of old fuckheads that just want to sit on fat stacks of money and do nothing with it.
Yeah.
But if you go and find the ones that have got good dudes, and you go, "Hey, we've got this project, we want to put a surfing team together. Can you back it?" And we'll make sure that all the boys who come here surfing will become members of the sub branch.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they need. They need young dudes in the door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. We can't just keep saying, "Hey, give us some of your money. We want to do this," and not keep.
And then say, "See you later. Thanks for the check. I'll be back in 2 years when it runs out."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you're right. So, but I do say that Anne, who I believe is the CEO of Currumbin RSL, she's been really good. You know, she's always in contact with veterans and young veterans, and you know, wants to hear what we've got to say. So, as you said, it's it's not all bad. It's good with the bad, as in everything. But yeah, definitely have to have a chat offline about all of that sort of stuff. And
putting surf teams together, I think, is a sick idea for everyone. It's good for the young
if you need a
diggers.
good board rider, I'm pretty. I'll put my hand up.
Next year, mate, come up for the Kira Classic. It's a longboard comp. Yeah.
Is it, mate?
I might learn how to paddle, mate. Man, I never knew how much. I thought, fuck, I'm all right. I got some muscular endurance. I do not.
It's different fitness.
I can't even make it out the break, and then I'm like, and everyone sort of gets out there and they go, "Yeah, that's the channel. Just take the rip out, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, fucking no idea what you're talking about. I'm just gonna go see the washing machine. I'm gonna go straight out through the washing machine and just get fucked up for 45 minutes, get exhausted, quit, fall off 2 waves, and go back in." But when I fucking go back in, man, I don't know what it is, whether it's salt water or sometimes being able to sit out the back, or I don't know if it's a placebo, but I fucking always feel different and good different.
Good, yeah.
Like the world's not as mean as it's supposed to be, and I don't know if that's if it's a learned behavior, or if it's something that is an environmental thing where, and that's what and I was like, fuck, maybe that's something we're onto here. I don't know.
Yeah, there is a book about it, and I haven't read it yet. I can't even think of the title right now. I think it's called Blue Therapy or something, Ocean Therapy or something along those lines. And it talks about, I think it's to do with the brain waves, the ones that are kind of bringing that sense of calm, and that they've kind of spiked a bit when you're out in the surf or something along those lines. It's to do with different brain waves, but I know what you're saying. Like, you can go out there and not really get a wave, but you come back in and I know there's something different. As you said, the world's not as mean. And you sleep better too. Obviously, you've been out in the elements, you're exhausted because it's a different kind of fitness. Like, you can't really train on land for surf in fitness or endurance. So there's that element as well where you're like exhausted, and most of the time you're probably going to sleep a lot better. And that has been found through studies that were done in the US and the UK with veterans and learn to surf programs like what Joel does, and like hopefully what these guys down in Gerringong are going to do. And it tracks there's themes each day, and they kind of try and relate it back to military, like this community and brotherhood and all of that. And then these guys are like, I haven't slept a full night in years, and I got smashed in the surf and I was exhausted, and I went home and I had a proper sleep. And that's a big part of it as well.
Dude, I fucking think it's united in shared suffering again. It's community, it's purpose, it's shared suffering. Well, for me, I'm not a fucking...
Yeah, no, it is. I'm with you. Just because I started helped start ABS doesn't mean I'm a great surfer. Like some of the boys will vouch and like, yeah, he's definitely, there's shared suffering. Yeah. 100 kilos and trying to surf, they don't really go hand in hand. You know what I mean? Because my other gym is obviously training, or my other passion is training at the gym. So they don't really go hand in hand when you're trying to build muscle and surf, because you just...
Do you find, as an exercise physiologist, is working with veterans who have mostly all got fucked up spines, is surfing for me is a mate, because my back muscles, I just trained way too much chest when I was young and wasn't nowhere near enough back.
Yeah.
Go surfing and your whole back, like, because you just holding your head up for an hour at a time is amazing for your back.
Yeah.
Hurts, obviously, the next day, but...
that's a yoga pose too, isn't it? Isn't that like... I should know that. I'm going to put the certificate.
Cobra, mate.
Cobra. That's the
Cobra,
one.
Almost
Yeah. It is. And look, I mean, there would be that element. Just depends on, the mechanism that causes your pain. Some people, extension. So Cobra pose is what causes their back pain.
Yeah, gotcha.
So surfing for them, you're probably going to, it's going to aggravate it. But sometimes you might have to weigh up, like if surfing is that one thing that can give you a bit of peace of mind and you're in pain in anyway, like, I've got a mate who's got, 3 discs on top of each other that need to basically be replaced. And extension causes his pain, but he just loves surfing and that's his out. So sometimes he will still go out and surf and he's like, I'm in pain every day anyway. So what's a little bit more if I still get to surf?
Dude, and that's a pain management thing. Is there's stuff where they're like, do you just deal with it and suck it up? Like a lot of guys go, okay, well, I've just been DVA's just accepted my claims for I've got a sore knee and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
that means I can't run anymore. You're like, it's I don't know, between fucking not a doctor, but running on a sore knee, like what is it where you just go, I'm just going to deal with the pain and then just enjoy running or surfing because it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, you
I'm not saying ignore your doctor, but just sit at home and go, yeah, fuck, DVA said, I got 20 grand for a sore knee, and DVA said I can't run again. Doctor said I can't run again. You sit at home and don't run. You're like, fucking, I don't know, man.
And there is that kind of, I guess, stigma attached to it as well. Like, I love deadlifting, and everyone's like, but if you've got a sore back, I haven't done any claims with DVA or anything, and they're like, oh, if you're gonna, you should probably stop deadlifting. And I'm like, why? It doesn't aggravate me. I still have back pain intermittently, but using the correct technique and all that doesn't aggravate my back. And if anything, it's gonna help stiffen up the muscles around the spine to support it. When done correctly, that is. Don't just go and deadlift if you've got a sore back because I said I like doing it. Not a doctor.
No, but I mean, there's boys over in the regiment now, and there's boys all around that, and some of them were old eyebrows. And as soon as he stopped training, he fucking body would fall. He's like, he trains every day, gets up fucking 4 a.m, goes to work, trains. He's got a dog at work, and fucking, he's like, if I fucking stop training, my body fucking falls apart, and I'm sorer from it.
Yeah, there's a bit of a saying that EPs and physios and that are using now, and it's movement is medicine. As long as what you're doing isn't making the condition worse, and all of that sort of stuff, keep moving. Don't just sit at home and rest. And there's this whole notion now of prehab, which is like before you go in for surgery, train and strengthen the muscles around the joint or whatever that's going to be, say you're going to have, ACL surgery, you've done your ACL, you've done your knee, train the muscles that support that joint so that when you come back out of surgery, that you can get back up and move quicker and you retain that strength. Don't just go, oh, we've got surgery in 9 months, I'm just going to do nothing and let my muscles shrink and atrophy. Yeah, there you go. And just, sit there and do nothing. So definitely keep moving and, you're right. As getting back to that point that surfing can be good for your back if extension doesn't aggravate your condition. But in saying that, that doesn't mean you can never extend your back and never surf again. You've just got to find positions that don't aggravate it, whether that's trying a bigger board like a Mao where you can paddle on your knees so you're not in that extension. So, I don't know if you guys have seen like Big Wednesday, the movie, where they get those big boards and they paddle out. They like kind of kneeling like the clubbies do and they paddle out like that, That could be one way because then you're in flexion instead of extension. So, yeah, there's ways around it.
What about stand-up paddleboards? Do you accept them in your club?
Yes. Mate, we've even got a goat boater. A guy who rides it.
Oh, that's a bit far.
I know. He asked for a shirt. See, I got the shirt on, and he asked for one with like paddles. I'm like, nah, you get your own. They're still veteran surfers, not wave riders. But we do accept. We got one of the boys that I was actually in the army with. He started Gold Coast Bodyboarding Club, so he's a bodyboarder. He can surf as well. But yeah, even if you don't surf, people still come down and just for a chat and a coffee and learn to surf.
I think that's a good takeaway for a lot of people out there because surfing is tribal. I mean, I grew up at the beach and the whole way up the Dudley Beach, it's not patrolled. You've got to drive through the bush. It's a tarred road. It wasn't us when we were younger, but about 5 years after I left Newcastle, I'd come back home on leave and there's all fucking spray paint going locals only.
Yeah.
Tourists fuck off. And it's a super tribal sport and it becomes intimidating. Like I live at Maroubra now.
Yeah.
You don't go to the north. You don't surf at the northern end unless you're a local. Like it's just part of the rules, and it's intimidating for people who've never surfed to go. Well, I don't have any mates that surf. I can't get started because I'll go there and they'll think I'm a kook or whatever the fuck they want to call me.
Yeah.
And it's like that's perfect. Like for you to say, even if you don't surf, just come down and meet people. Yep. Eventually, you're probably going to see how fun it is and want to get into surfing.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. We've teamed up with a local surf school and we provide lessons for those that want to learn to surf and their kids. But yeah, there are members that just come down for a chat. They don't want to surf, they're not interested in it, and we're not going to turn them away. It's more just we're trying to create a community based around surfing and just being at the beach even, because you could just go for a dip in the ocean and you still get that kind of feeling when you get out in the water. I don't know, as we were talking about earlier, I don't know exactly what it is, but there's that salt water and it's just hits your body and you're like, yeah, good, refreshed. And that's why I think there's Currumbin Clinic up here, which a lot of the guys go through for their mental health and their PTSD, and it's right near the beach at Currumbin, and I'm like, they need to start getting these guys out in the water, and we probably need to get there and team up with them and say, whenever you get a veteran, give us a call and we'll come and just get them down to the beach. And definitely don't. And you don't even have to be an Aussie veteran. We got a couple Americans that have come down, and one of our guys he was in the Navy over in the UK. So, it's just anyone that served or family members that have, come on down, hang out, meet us. If you don't like us, don't stay. But if you do, keep coming down. It's that simple. You're not locked in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gold.
Why is it, and just the last point, I'm going to throw a fucking complete curveball in here. So properties, why do people want to see the ocean? Why do people, it's an intrinsic thing. Like if you've got ocean views, you can bang 20 grand on the value of your property.
Oh, 100%.
If you live near the coast, we all want to be near the coast, right? Most people do.
Yeah.
Except for people who are born. It's got to be a draw to the ocean, man. And is it because... Fuck, I don't know.
Good question. That is a good question. I don't know. But
easy food, I reckon. That's what we would just hang around the ocean because it's easy to pick off like oysters and shit, and you can get a pretty easy feed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the reason now, but I think that's an evolved behaviour. Like humans have wanted to live near the coast since we started banging sticks together and made fire.
It's like a status symbol now, right?
Abundance of food.
I live on the beach. Yeah, I've got money
near the water.
Yeah.
Well,
now people who don't go outside and they just watch Netflix all day and they're a doctor, they'll still spend $5 million so they can live on the water in Bondi. But there is staring at the ocean just switches your brain off.
Yeah, something relaxing about it. just
it's
can't
good.
explain exactly what it is, but that's a dream. Living on the beach, in a way. Actually, I'm kind of happy where we are now because then you don't have to deal with all like corrosion of the cars and the electronics in the house. Apparently, the salt water gets into them pretty badly. And
Oh, the worst, mate. I had one of my old housemate when I was in the army in Townsville. He had a 87 Holden Premier, and he needed money, so he sold it to me because I just wanted a muscle car, and I took it home with me when I got out of the army.
Yeah.
Parked it in Newcastle for 3 months. That was fucked. It was just full of rust, mate. I'm like, hey, mate, you want your car back? Give me that money back. But new cars are a little bit better. Like there's cars, I got to park out the front. Like I live near the beach at Moorrun. I got to park my car out the front because there's no. Well, my housemate's got the park out downstairs, but it's doing all right.
Yeah.
It's been there for about 4 months
I
now.
guess there's less steel in the cars now, right? Someone plastic.
Yeah, it's just plastic.
Yeah. Yep.
There's
definitely something about it.
Well, mate, thanks for coming on the show, and we'll have to reach out and talk offline. After this, we'll just stop recording and we'll crack on. But, mate, fucking so good to have you on and everything. I think we could have rounded that out for another hour and a half, getting in the deep dive of the human evolution. And I've got some real off the grid sort of stuff that would have turned all the right wing, all our core demographic off the podcast instantaneously. But we're gonna have a couple of beers and talk about that shit. But thanks for coming on, mate, and we'll have to chat to you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Bye.